Hello, I'm Tanner. Natural bodybuilding is my thing, but I'm also attempting to be somewhat of a philosopher, I guess. I don't know why I keep sitting like this. I guess it's the philosopher way to sit. I don't know. Um, the question I have posed today, and it's really more as a question, like it's a more of a discussion because I don't have like a true, just flat out answer. But is there a limit to kindness? Is there a point where we say this situation, this happening, this whatever requires more than kindness? This is a situation where I can't just be kind. And as always, there I have two kind of angles I'm approaching this from. First off, philosophically, which the philosophical avenue on this to me poses two questions. First of those being, was the truly kind thing to do in the situation? So an example for me in real life, with as little specifics as I can get, one of my someone I'm incredibly close to recently got fired. He had to resign, whatever, from his job. I'm incredibly close to this person, and it's a situation I'm somewhat involved in. Not like overly involved in, but somewhat. And it was he had to resign over a disagreement with his boss, essentially. And I don't know the specifics of the situation. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell y'all. I don't know the specifics of the situation. So, but what I ask myself in regards to the situation is, pretend I did. We're in a world where um, I do know the specifics. the The question, like I said, what is the truly kind thing to do in the situation? And this pertains to that situation because I'm like, if there's an avenue, a way for me to fight for him, is that the kind thing to do, or is the kind thing to do to just continue going on about my life? Um, I guess okay. The context I guess I should give so this situation actually makes sense. It was my former youth pastor. I was very close with him. Um, he had to resign from his job over a disagreement with the head pastor. Maybe I shouldn't have shared those specifics, but I feel like this situation doesn't make sense without them. Should I? Is there, again, in a world where I know the specifics of the situation, would it be kind for me to try to fight for him in some way? To whether that's petition with the church or I don't know, whatever, something like that, or is the kind thing for me to do in the situation to just go on about my life, be like, what happened happened. I'll still listen to this pastor preach on Sundays, like all like just go about it, continue just regular, you know. Sorry, I had to pause there for a moment to collect my thoughts because I realized I was kind of going all over the place. The question of was the kind thing to do is the kind thing to do to fight for him, or is the kind thing to do to smile and say it'll all be okay? There we go. That's what I was trying to get at. Again, I apologize. I was kind of all over the place with that. Then the second question for like the philosophical avenue is it a fight worth fighting? If you look back to the previous situation I just named, I don't know the specifics, so I don't know if it's something even worth fighting over, if it's even something worth getting upset about. Um, and then another real life example is whenever playing, I'm on the game with my friends. It we we love to talk trash to each other and fight over stupid crap, and it becomes an issue in my mind of should I even be fighting with them, even if it's just a joke, even if it's like it lasts for 5 minutes and we forget it happens. Should I be doing that as someone who is pursuing kindness, as someone who is trying to be as kind as possible? Is it worth partaking in that fight again, even though it's only momentary, even though it's not anything serious? Is it worth the fight? Is it worth the trash talk? Which that's one of the things I've really been wondering a lot recently. I'm like, I it's a lot of fun when we sit there and we talk trash to each other, but at the same time, should is that something I should be doing? And I don't know. That's kind of where I'm like, this is a very open-ended question. I don't have the answer. I don't know what the truly kind thing to do is. I don't know if it's a fight worth fighting, even if it is just a joke. You know, um, I just put at the end of the day, as far as the philosophical avenue goes, at the end of the day, it's up to your discretion on what the moral thing to do is. If you're looking at this from a purely philosophical standpoint, it's up to you. Is it a fight worth fighting? And what is this truly kind thing to do in the situation? Whether or not the, the kind thing to do is to fight for that person, or is to just stand by their side and be like, it's okay, everything's going to work out, we'll all be fine, you know? And because the problem with fighting the fight is you're fighting against someone else. And it's like, is that kind? Or, is it kinder to let them be or to stand up for the person, you know? So I don't know. And then the second avenue, as always, is biblically, which I heard this verse. I don't remember the verse. I tried to look it up, couldn't find it. But I heard this verse from my buddy the other day, and the synopsis summary of it is, don't let morality become an idol. Don't let this idea of kindness and being the best person you possibly can be become an idol in itself. We're called, as a Christian, if you are one, we're called to be Christ-like, not just kind, not just generous, not just loving. We're called to be Christ-like. Being Christ-like is a summation of all of those things, you know. And Jesus said, forgive 70 times 7, or apparently it's 77 times 7 or 70 times 7, depending on the translation. But that's in Matthew 18:21 through 22, if you're curious. But the fact that Jesus said 70 times 7, or the other number, doesn't matter, this implies a limit, to me at least. Jesus could have said as many times as it takes. Jesus could have said infinite. Jesus could have said, anything along those lines, but he didn't. He gave this drastically high number to implies you need to forgive a lot. But at the end of the day, it does kind of imply limit, right? And then the other thing with Jesus is he also showed righteous anger. Whenever, I wish I had the verse memorized, whenever people were using the temple of God disrespectfully, he flipped tables and chased them out with a whip of thorns, right? This is righteous anger because he is attacking these people for the sake of his Father, our Father in heaven. He is defending the Lord, the Father's name, right? So this is righteous anger. This is an example of when it's okay to say, screw the kindness. I'm going to be angry and I'm going to defend my Father's name. But then I ask myself, is righteous anger something we're truly able to possess as imperfect people? It is hard for me to believe that I will ever be righteously angry. I will be angry for the correct reason and the correct amount. In the Bible, it says anger, if you look at someone with hatred in your heart, it's the same as murdering them. So to be righteously angry, truly righteously angry, to me is a very difficult thing. To be like, you're disrespecting the Lord God's name, and I'm angry with you just the right amount for just the right reasons. I don't know if that's something that's attainable for us, that is possible for us as sinners, as imperfect people. So to kind of summate the philosophical and biblical avenue, I just wrote, be kind as often as possible, but the end goal is always be as Christ-like as possible. So if you're not a follower of Jesus, just be kind whenever you can and use your best discretion to decide whether or not what the kind thing in the situation is to do, whether or not you should be fighting, whether or not you should just hold back because you believe that the kind thing to do in the situation is to leave it alone. Then, as a follower of Jesus, remember your goal is not just to be kind, it is to be Christ like. We, as followers of Jesus, cannot just be kind whenever a situation calls for righteous anger. And again, whether or not we can possess righteous anger as sinful individuals, I don't know. I'm kind of on the end of the spectrum of like, not really, because we're sinful individuals, but I guess that is another thing that's kind of more up to your discretion, you know. But yeah, that is it as far as this video goes. If I get a gym vlog later in the day, I said this yesterday, but if I get a gym vlog later in the day, it'll be leg day. Thank you for watching. Be kind as much as you can. And yeah, love y'all. Thank you for watching. See y'all later or tomorrow. Bye bye.